Sheriff Todd Baxter, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, Policy Master James P. Jr. on Penfield Town Court, Alex Renzi in New York State Supreme Court. My name is Chris Chichester. I'm an innocent man. This is the Freedom of Information Law. It has a cover letter that will arrive at your offices tomorrow. Registered mail return receipt. I'll read the cover letter on this January 18th. Sandra Doorley, District Attorney, 47 South Fitz, Rochester, New York, 14604. Todd K. Baxter, Sheriff, 130 South Plymouth Avenue, Rochester, New York, 14604. Comply with the attached PDF dated January 18, 2023. That is 71 Freedom of Information Law documents. This includes identification of prosecutors of silence. Mail the information I demand to the address on the foil. Then I have two links here that I've sent you previously. YouTube Projections, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, Judge Alex Renzi. YouTube Accountability, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, Judge Alex Renzi. Where I've again sent the Freedom of Information Law to you. Will you sign for it? I'm demanding you disclose the names of my prosecutor's silence. You nauseating, disgusting, vile hack, Sandra Doorley. Does a prosecutor talk in court, Sandra Doorley? How am I in jail when a prosecutor doesn't talk in court? How am I in jail 6 times and 6 times the prosecutor doesn't talk in court? Do you think I'm asking you this rhetorically, Sandra Doorley? Because I'm not. Sandra Doorley, how am I in jail when a prosecutor doesn't talk in court 6 times? So, this is the foil here on this January 18th, 2023 that I'm going to read. I'm going to read all 71, and it's arriving in your offices tomorrow. Todd Baxter, my former employers, the United States Senate, where I work for Senator Olympia Snowe of Maine, and the United States House of Representatives, where I work for Congressman Mark Smith of Texas, passed legislation in 1996 to properly protect healthcare records. And I have a window here from the CDC that I'm going to read, and then I'm going to click back on and look at you. And you can go and look at this at cdc.gov. This is the first graph. The Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996, HIPAA, is a federal law that required the creation of national standards to protect sensitive patient health information from being disclosed without the patient's consent or knowledge. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, issued the HIPAA privacy rule to implement the requirements of HIPAA. The HIPAA security rule protects a subset of information covered by the privacy rule. Do you understand what I just read, Todd Baxter? That's federal law. There's something about my life that only a few individuals know. My mother and father know what's happened to me and where I've been in Rochester, New York, because I told my mother and father. And Regina Harper knows because she's my public defender. And thank you, Regina, for your representation of me. But I'm not telling individuals about my life and this absolute obliteration of my life by you, Todd Baxter. But Paula C. Metzler on Penfield Town Court knows what my mother and father know. And I'm not going to say with specificity here, but I will. I'll be back on here. I'm going to talk about it all and what happened to me at this institution. So I'm going to read this again, Todd Baxter, because you violated federal law because you gave my health care records to Paula C. Metzler on Penfield Town Court. I'm going to say it again, Todd Baxter, for you. You skinhead stooge and party switcher, because you're such at a level of corruption that I have to repeat things. You, Todd Baxter, violated federal law when you gave my health insurance records to $28,000 widow, Paula C. Metzler from Penfield Town Court. From the CDC website, quote, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996, HIPAA, is a federal law that required the creation of national standards to protect sensitive patient health information from being disclosed without the patient's consent or knowledge. Paula C. Metzler said to me, with only my mother and father know, at that time, I thought all my mother and father knew. Paula C. Metzler knows what I think only my mother and father know, because you disclosed my health insurance records to Paula C. Metzler. Todd Baxter, I'm telling you, you violated federal law right here. And I'm going to write this down when I contact the Department of Justice, the Federal Department of Health and Human Services, the New York State Department of Health, Governor Kathy Hochul, and the state legislature about you. Todd Baxter, you understand what I just said about you violating federal law and delivering my healthcare records to Paul C. Metzler and Penfield Court? Am I being clear enough for you, you nauseating, revolting, disgusting criminal? And that's putting it mildly. So I clicked back on because I was reading that. Do you fail to understand what I just said to you, Todd Baxter? Does this need additional clarification? You are at such a level of insane corruption and detachment from the truth that I believe you don't even know what I just said to you if you're watching me, and your employees certainly don't know. So, there are things I may repeat here because it's the obliteration of my life. $67,000 Shannon Meyer warrant for my arrest for walk through a parking lot. It's two of my neighbors. I've said this over and over. She's still employed at the sheriff's office. Out of all your employees that have concocted crimes for me, she's the one that delivers me to a level of anger that really is hard to control. A warrant for my arrest for walking through this parking lot. I've walked through 4,000 times. There's two of my neighbors right in here. People walk through this parking lot all day long, Todd Baxter. I've said this to you over and over and over. So, I've said this to you over and over too. So I'll read this again because this is brief. This is dated January 16th, Todd Baxter. This photograph is why you're a fanatic. This photograph is why you're an extremist. This photograph is why you're a liar. This photograph is why I know the name $67,000 disgusting act Shannon Meyer. This photograph is why people hate the police. Christopher Chichester, 620 Park Avenue, PNB number 361, Rochester, New York. That's it. That is called a surveillance device. If Todd Baxter, this is not called a surveillance device, what's it called? Because I've been on it. So you party-switching stooge, skinhead, degenerate, and cretin, Todd Baxter, is this private technology at 2025 Penfield Road, or did you buy it and fix it for me? And think about the best lie possible. So, this will arrive in your office tomorrow. I'm going to read every one. If you don't listen, you don't listen. You know. Now, it's where I have to try not to laugh at you psychopaths at the sheriff's office because these are your employees underwater in a pool. What are you doing with taxpayer dollars? I don't care if it's a private event. When I ask you a question, you give me an answer that's not related to the question. I've asked you over and over, did you expend taxpayer dollars for this? You refuse to answer. This is your employee, Ryan Fisher in Atlanta, Georgia, a joke. This is called a junket. A junket enrages taxpayers. And you want people to know about it. I'm going to tell you how to be corrupt, Todd. Don't tell anybody you're corrupt. Because here you are tweeting about it. I've read that tweet over and over. I'm not going to do that again in the interest of time. And you're going to the media about him, too, with his dog. How much was the hotel? How much is the plane ticket? How much is the care and feeding of his dog? Is this private money? He's in front of Mercedes-Benz Stadium in his uniform. So since he's in his uniform, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, he's on the taxpayer time of the Monroe County taxpayer. Do you understand what I just said to you, Todd Baxter? In a state where this was the flag until 2003. How many times I've demanded the names of my prosecutors? Over and over, that's UPS. I walked into the Penfield Public Library. You're a psychopath, fellow psychopath, the last name Siemens, followed me into the library, ran at me, held his arm out, clotheslined me, knocked me down. So it's the force of his arm hitting me in the head. I fell backwards and my head hit ceramic tile of the library floor. And I had $61.39 in my pocket. He takes me down a hall where Paul C. Metz was waiting for me to declare me guilty, and then I'm driven to Livingston County Jail in Geneseo. Based on what I just told you, Todd Baxter, where's my due process? Because an employee of the district attorney's office, District Attorney Sandra, was not there that day to make an argument that I committed a crime. Two people decided I'm going to be in Livingston County Jail in Geneseo. Siemens, who violently attacked me, and Paul C. Metzler. This is what I had in my pocket. And Regina Harper, the public defender's office, came to Livingston County Jail to win my freedom, for which I'll be grateful to her for the rest of my life. What would you think if Kevin Baxter, Zachary Baxter, were anywhere in the United States of America and a psychopath cop walked into wherever Kevin Baxter, Zachary Baxter was, violently attacked Kevin Baxter, Zachary Baxter, and then presented Kevin Baxter, Zachary Baxter in front of one corrupt judge, and that corrupt judge decided they're going to be in jail? State legislature needs to reform this monstrosity. It's called the bench trial, which is not a trial. The 1984 of justice in Monroe County and throughout New York State, it's just you appear before one judge, and that judge is going to determine if you're guilty or innocent without a prosecutor talking. That's insane. So, corruption requires repetition. If I repeat things, it's because you're corrupt. These freedom of information laws, it's right here. Todd Baxter, you will sign for them. When you look at these, this is why you're corrupt. You're signing for them. I'm not just putting this in the regular mail and hope it gets there. You're going to get it. You're going to look at every single one I will read. You refuse it. That's why you're corrupt. Right here. There's your name, Todd Baxter. There's your name, Sandra Doorley. The receipt's coming back to me on a green card. This is Alex Renzi in New York State Supreme Court. And in case the 70-year-old hack doesn't get it, I got his clerk on here too. This is Trinity Ross, the United States Attorney for the Western District of New York, who I have not written yet directly to. And I hope to have at least 5,000 words. I'm thinking about what I write to her. Because so many things have happened to me, because what Psychopaths Incorporated have done to me, I have to make sure it's coherent. There are things I have to leave out. I just want to get right to the point when I contact the United States Attorney. This is Lisa Preston. So just in case the 70-year-old fossil, Alex Renzi, keels over or something in court, or he doesn't know what's going on, which possibly could happen, Lisa Preston of New York State Supreme Court at 99 Exchange Boulevard can give it to him. That's why I sent it to her. I think this is the clerk at New York State Supreme Court. So if Alex Renzi doesn't get it for whatever reason, or opposite doesn't care, which I believe that will definitely be the case, Lisa Preston and his 99 Exchange in New York State Supreme Court will also have it. I'm demanding a list of defendants before Alex Renzi. And he will refuse, and this is why he's corrupt. Paul C. Metzler. I got the list of defendants. I did not open it yet, but I'm demanding other information from you, Paul C. Metzler. I'm demanding the defective documents for the case of Dan Glaus III. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's Regina Harper. It's Mark Phillips. And then Jansen McNair, the Office of Public Integrity. Everything I'm going to read is sent to Jansen McNair, who has a massive conflict of interest being a former employee of the sheriff's office. So, and that cost today, on this January 18th, $111.56. That followed $154 on the 16th, $172 again on the 16th, $99 on the 3rd, $110 on the 28th, $108 on the 22nd, $108 again on the 22nd, over and over and over. I'm not going to read your receipts. $100 of spending, demanding information. You haven't complied with anything. It's what you think is compliance, which is not. I should say you haven't complied with anything. That's inaccurate. There are a few things you have complied with, like I did get the payroll from the district attorney's office. So, and there are a few other things you did comply with. But like I said, I have 71 in here. And you're going to be 0 for 71 on all 71 of these. And I had to take out the list of defendants in Pemberton Town Court because I received that document, I received the envelope that I didn't look at yet. So I have information in here where I'm trying to remove you from office. And your refusal to answer me can possibly remove you from office. So, my name is Christopher Chichester. This is Freedom of Information Law. I'm an innocent man. Total number of contracts signed by District Attorney Sandra Doorley to purchase products, commodities, goods, materials for the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. Given the radical decline of your health, I think that you at any moment can drool on yourself. I'm not trying to be facetious. I think that you are at such a state of collapse in your health, you pathetic diva, that you could possibly drool on yourself. And what I'm trying to do when I'm on here, too, is enrage you psychopaths in the district attorney's office by saying what I just said. How do you get everything in a district attorney's office? I want to know how every single thing in that district attorney's office is paid for with a vendor. Is this Monroe County that supplies you with everything you need? Your computers, your desk, your pens, your pad, your papers, your copy machines? Or is there a vendor? And is there a contract? What's the answer? Because there's corruption in contracting. The vehicles. Well, I worked for the majority leader and governor in Albany. Certain staff had vehicles, and that was a status symbol if you had a vehicle. The boss always had a vehicle, but staff did have vehicles. So how many of you at the district attorney's office have vehicles in addition to the district attorney? I don't know if the district attorney has a vehicle or if she drives herself into the office like an ordinary New Yorker, which I'm attempting to find out. So what's the answer? And when you demand information at the district attorney's office, you better acquire it. The hypocrisy of you is sickening. Freedom of Information Law. The contract signed by District Attorney Sandra of the Monroe County District Attorney's Office to purchase vehicles for the Monroe County District Attorney's Office to include 1, the name of the contractor; 2, the total amount expended in tax dollars; 3, the total number of vehicles purchased by make and model. By make and model. Do you have some fancy car in there? If in fact they have vehicles? I don't know. What's the answer? And what you're thinking at the sheriff's office, the district attorney's office, I don't know who watches me, he should be arrested. That's your constant thought because you're psychopaths. This is how I'm tempted to find out if this pathetic diva drives herself into work or if she has servants. Freedom of Information Law. The contract signed by District Attorney Sandra to purchase 1, an automobile or automobiles; 2, a driver or chauffeur for District Attorney Sandra; 3, office supplies. Freedom of Information Law. Total number of contracts signed by Sheriff Todd Baxter to purchase products, commodities, goods, materials for the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. Firearms. Where do you get your firearms? I believe that no one has ever asked you this the entire time you've been sheriff since January 1, 2018. Because this ridiculous media that's a Democrat and Chronicle and this radio and television behaves as if you're not even in office. You're not even here. As far as accountability. This is accountability right here. Who's your contractor for your weapons? You decide this, Todd Baxter. Or you have consultants that tell you. I have been on websites where it is incredible the number and type of firearms that are in the United States of America. It could be anything as far as a handgun with make and model. And you decide that. Todd Baxter, do you understand your refusal to comply and tell me is corruption? And you don't. Because you're a psychopath and you're corrupt and you live in the delusion and the denial of a 1984. Freedom of Information Law. The contract signed by Sheriff Todd K. Baxter to purchase firearms from Monroe County Sheriff Office employees to include 1, the name of the firearms contractor; 2, the number of firearms purchased; 3, the total amount of taxpayer dollars expended to purchase firearms. This is the inventory of weapons, as I call it. You just don't have the handguns. There's long guns, there's rifles, there's anything else you want to have there, and you have an arsenal. And as I said previously, when I was at the 17th Cabinet, the 101st Airborne Division, you have to return your weapon. At the time, it was an M16, and I really was in awe of what they had in there. What do you have at the sheriff's office? Because any of those weapons can be used to kill an innocent citizen. Freedom of Information Law. An inventory of weapons at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office by the number and type of weapons. That is 1, identification by brand name; 2, types of weapons that are automatic and semi-automatic; 3, types of weapons that are handguns and long guns; 4, the total number of weapons; 5, the name of the weapons contractor and the total amount of tax dollars of the contract. That 5th point is the most important. So I'm going to emphasize this again because corruption requires repetition. The name of the weapons contractor and the total amount of tax dollars of the contract. I know you're not going to comply because when I contact Controller Thomas P. DiNapoli in Albany, I'll tell him I'm demanding this of you. I believe it's the controller himself contacted your office either by phone himself or the deputy controller or someone else responsible for audits and accountability of tax dollars contacted you and asked you the same thing, you would refuse. Your vehicles. I'm walking down East Main Street today to go to Patrick's Printing and M&T Bank, and there's the Monroe County Sheriff Office vehicle right there on East Main Street. He's sitting there in his vehicle doing nothing. Day after day, there they are doing nothing right there in public. Why? Just like your vehicle that's alongside Wegmans at 2157 Penfield Road, your vehicles are throughout Monroe County where employees sit in their vehicles doing nothing. Freedom of Information Law. The contract signed by Sheriff Todd Baxter, the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, to purchase vehicles for the Monroe County Sheriff's Office to include the name of the contractor, the total amount expended in tax dollars, the total number of vehicles purchased by make and model. I hesitate to make predictions, but I do believe that this could remove you from office, depending on if, in fact, there's a contract, and then it can be determined that it's an unethical or illegal practice by you in purchasing vehicles. This is not any vehicle here. This is not a Yugo you have. This is a vehicle that has to be specially manufactured to go high speeds, because criminals go at high speeds. What's the answer, Todd Baxter, about your vehicles? How many vehicles do you have at the sheriff's office? And how do you make these decisions about the purchase of vehicles? And there's also the maintenance of vehicles. I was going to write a fall for that, but I decided not to. I will, though. I want to know how you expend every penny. I demand to know how you expend every penny, because every penny is tax pennies. Sheriff Todd Baxter doesn't know if he's a Democrat or Republican because he'll say anything. You, Lee LaRoque, went in to my residence when I was in Livingston County Jail, Geneseo, tore the place apart, threw all my papers on the floor. You pulled out the cabinets in my kitchen. You turned my bed over. You pulled out the drawers of my father's dresser upstairs. My dress screens from the 101st Airborne Division were on the floor in a spare bedroom when they should never be. The drawers in the bathroom were pulled open. How many people were in my residence that day? You fucking psychopath, $91,000 Lee LaRoque. When you're tearing my place apart, where I lived at 26 Sanders Farm Drive in Penfield, and you exited with my Acer Chromebook. Where's my Acer Chromebook, Lee LaRoque? And what's the probable cause to be in my residence? And you better send me this documentation, you skinhead widow Paul C. Metzler, for her being in my residence. And how many were in my residence? Freedom of Information Law. Documentation signed by $28,000 Paul C. Metzler, Penfield Court, that is a, quote, search warrant to allow $91,000 Lee LaRoque of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office to enter 26 Sanders Farm Drive in Penfield, New York, for the confiscation of the Acer Chromebook owned by Christopher Chichester. How do you look at my Chromebook and decide to take it, Lee LaRoque? And do you understand that that's corruption? And the answer is no. I went to this gym called PW Fitness. I've said this over and over. I'll try to be brief. I'm on the bench press. Up walks to me Jermaine Benman. He stands over me, goes like this. I say, I'll be 30 seconds. He punches down. My head snaps back violently. $79,000 Angel Reality arrives. We go out to his vehicle. He tells me to sit in the backseat of his vehicle. Then he tells Benman what to say. He walks Benman around the side of the vehicle. And Jermaine Lamar Benman says these words to me. I want to press charges against you. And with those 7 words, as I sat in the backseat of $79,000 Angel Reality's Monroe County Sheriff Office vehicle, I'm charged with harassment II. I appear before John P. Lomenzo Jr., and I go to Monroe County Jail for harassment II, sitting in the backseat of the vehicle. I get out of jail. I have to go make an appearance in Penfield Court because I have a subpoena sent to me. Because Jermaine Lamar Benman has to appear in front of you, James Smalley Jr. And what I don't know is that Jessica Wagner of the District Attorney's Office negotiated a deal with you, James Smalley Jr., and the attorney for Jermaine Benman to let this violent thug and criminal walk right out the door. Because I get the subpoena. I sit down there in Penfield Court. I'm immediately approached by a Penfield Court employee. She says to me, "Are you Christopher Chichester?" I say, "Yes." She says, "You can't be here." I leave. I stand out in the hall. Jermaine Benman walks in. 5 minutes. He's in there in front of you. He walks out. I don't know what happened. I went to the window and I say to the Penfield Court employee, this elderly woman, "What happened with the Jermaine Benman case?" and that's what she says to me, adjournment of dismissal. I do not know what that is. I cannot find out what that is. I don't know if she has it incorrect. You, James P. Mullen Jr., freed this thug, Jermaine L. Behrman, because you, James P. Mullen Jr., believe in violence. Freedom of Information Law. Documentation signed by Pembroke Town Court Judge James P. Mullen Jr. for the case of defendant Jermaine L. Behrman with the assigned employee at the District Attorney's Office, Assistant District Attorney Jessica Wagner. Send it to me. Your signature on documentation for him is how you believe in violence, James P. Mullen Jr. This disgusting hack, this $28,000 skinhead Paul mess. When I walked into the Penfield Public Library, Seamus ran at me, knocked me down, hit me in the head first, then my head hit the ceramic tile of the Penfield Public Library floor. When he picked me up, put the handcuffs on with the other psychopath, he says to me, I think it was, you have 10 warrants for your arrest. I think it was either 10 or 12. It's more than 10. Because Paul C. Metzer is sitting there as one person in Little Penfield Town Court deciding I should be in jail. One person. There is no jury box for jury 12. It's not I should be in Penfield Town Court and the prosecutors are making an argument in front of jury. This is why the state legislature needs to change this law. Every single defendant in jail should be so in jail by a jury. And in some states, you can have a jury of 6. One judge determining guilt or innocence is a prescription for corruption, and corruption is this nauseating, sick, vile room that's Penfield Town Court that you love, Sandra Doorley, and you love Todd Baxter because everybody's guilty, no one's acquitted. Freedom of Information Law, a copy of every warrant for arrest of Christopher Chichester, 26 Sandra from driving Penfield Town Court by Paul C. Metzler. When I worked in Albany, in the state capital for the majority of the new government, I would hear about employees who had DWIs. If you know Albany, there are the 3 main roads are Central Avenue, Washington Avenue, and Western Avenue. And I would hear about this. And I've also now been acquainted with how a DWI can get fixed. So, Todd Baxter, Sandra Doorley, do you have employees arrested for DWI? And are they fixed by you? Freedom of Information Law. The number of employees at the Monmouth County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, arrested for driving while intoxicated. Is your answer, Todd Baxter, 0? Freedom of Information Law. The number of employees at the Monmouth County District Attorney's Office, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, arrested for driving while intoxicated. Is your answer, Sandra Doorley, 0? The number of employees in New York State Supreme Court, 99 Exchange Boulevard, Rochester, New York, arrested for driving while intoxicated. Is your answer, Alex Renzi, 0? The number of employees in Penfield Town Court, 1985 Bad Road, Penfield, New York, arrested for driving while intoxicated. Is your answer, James P. Mullen Jr., Paul C. Metzler, 0? Minors, this can remove you from office. How many minors are on the payroll? It's so simple to answer. If you have upwards of 50 minors on the payroll, you cannot remain in office, you have to resign. On the last page of the payroll, there are approximately 15, quote, employees, end quote, that are paid $12,000 and $10,000. Are they minors? One of them is Camille Miller, who I believe is related to Kathleen Miller, and perhaps Kathleen Miller is related to $77,000 Andrew Miller. I don't know. You do, Todd Baxter. You know if it's all in the family, it's the sheriff's office. That's a common name. How many minors do you have on the payroll? Todd Baxter, do you understand what I just said to you and how simple it is to answer? Has Kevin Baxter ever been on the payroll of the sheriff's office? Has Zachary Baxter ever been on the payroll of the sheriff's office? What's the answer, Sheriff Todd Baxter? The number of minors on the public employee payroll of the Monmouth County Sheriff's Office are related to Monmouth County Sheriff's Office employees. Perry Douglas, has Erin Doorley ever been on the payroll of the District Attorney's Office, the daughter of District Attorney Sandra Doorley? I don't know. You do. I'm going to write to you in detail about nepotism at the District Attorney's Office. What nepotism is not, either at the Sheriff's Office or District Attorney's Office, is a 17-year-old high school senior who wants to do an internship. A 17-year-old boy or girl who wants to be a sheriff's office employee, a police officer, and wants to learn how it works. That's always a good thing. A 17-year-old, 18-year-old who wants to go to law school. First, they have to, of course, get an undergraduate degree, earn an undergraduate degree, wants to see how it works, and they do an internship. Because I did internships, and I know how valuable it was in my life. And I greatly appreciate to this day how I was treated by individuals I didn't even know when I first arrived there. And I would see how they work. This is on the Suffolk County Legislature for me. It was really something to be an intern on that legislature. And I loved it. And I loved the way I was treated. And I loved being there. And I love the fact I wasn't condescended to by either the legislature or the staff. So it's a good thing for a minor to get experience being an internship. What's not a good thing is refusing to disclose it. What's not a good thing is the minor's there because it's a relationship, a family relationship with an employee. What's the answer? You refuse to answer because you're corrupt. The number of minors on the public employee payroll of the Monmouth County District Attorney's Office, Sandra Doorley. So Todd, Baxter, Sandra Doorley, the minors. I know you're not going to answer. That's why you're corrupt. The number of minors on the public employee payroll of the Monmouth County District Attorney's Office are related to Monmouth County District Attorney's Office employees. So there's the minors and then the nepotism minors. So I think I'm skipping over a few of these. So I have the number of minors on the payroll. So the nepotism minors. Nepotism minors, the District Attorney's Office. Yes. I think I wrote that Freedom of Information Law twice by mistake. So I'll have to look at this again. All right. Nobody's perfect. Is that what you say into your microphone behind the badge? Nobody's perfect? That should be your motto at the sheriff's office. Nobody's perfect. Behind the badge with the MCSO? This is a joke. This is why you're a joke. This is why I use that word. If you're in front of a microphone and you're being interviewed by a Monmouth County Sheriff's Office employee, then the Sheriff's Office employee is the producer. And this costs taxpayer dollars. What's the cost? Freedom of Information Law. The cost taxpayers for production of the Beyond the Badge of MCSO podcast where Sheriff Todd K. Baxter declares his intent to be, quote, as transparent as possible. And that's a lie. I'm forcing you to be as transparent as possible right now. Compensatory time when I was a state employee is every hour beyond the 40th hour that accumulates. So if you work 50 hours 3 weeks in a row, that's 30 hours of compensatory time, and that builds up. You can work on a campaign. What is time management at the sheriff's office? How's that done? For time management, as far as when the employee's not paid and not going to get the overtime time and a half. How's that done, Todd Baxter? I demand to know how every single personnel decision is made by you because you're drenched in corruption and you're fleecing taxpayers. Freedom of Information Law. Does Sheriff Todd K. Baxter allow compensatory time to employees that have work time beyond the standard 40-hour week that is vacation time with the Monmouth County Sheriff's Office employees paid? Same question for you, you Donna-Cran idiot. Freedom of Information Law. Does District Attorney Sandra Doorley allow compensatory time to employees that have worked beyond the standard 40-hour work week that is, quote, not vacation time with the Monmouth County District Attorney's Office employees paid? Financial disclosure. I received this from Paul C. Metzler. What's the problem, Todd Baxter? What's the problem, Sandra Doorley? What's the problem, James Millen Jr.? What's the problem, Alex Renzi? The problem is you're corrupt. Personal finance disclosure of Sheriff Todd K. Baxter. Personal finance disclosure of District Attorney Sandra Doorley. Personal finance disclosure of Supervising Judge of the New York State Supreme Court 7th Judicial District, that is Alex Renzi. Personal finance disclosure of Penfield Town Court Judge James Millen Jr. How do you discipline your employees? I've said this over and over. This is so simple to understand. Your employee, Brandon Cadiz, committed a robbery and you fired him. You have other Brandon Cadizes at the sheriff's office that nobody knows about right now. They're going to behave just like Brandon Cadiz. So what's the disciplinary process? Freedom of Information Law. The internal disciplinary records of documentation of employees at the Monmouth County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter. That Sheriff Todd K. Baxter is reprimanded, terminated, disciplinary employment at the Monmouth County Sheriff's Office. Same thing for the District Attorney's Office. Every single one of my prosecutors' assignments should be disbarred with the Attorney's Grievance Committee. And if you can eject yourself from corruption and fanaticism, Sandra Doorley, I will attempt to disbar each. Do you discipline your employees? I already know the answer to this. You have no disciplinary process. Because you're a total incompetent, Sandra Doorley. Freedom of Information Law. The internal disciplinary record of documentation of employees at the Monmouth County District Attorney's Office of District Attorney Sandra Doorley. That District Attorney Sandra Doorley has reprimanded, terminated, disciplined, and employment at the Monmouth County District Attorney's Office. Sick days. You, Todd Baxter, from what I know, And I've read online are in relatively good health, but how many sick days you've had? How easy is it to answer that? Sick days and the total number of sick days for your employees. Total number of sick days used by Sheriff Todd Baxter from January 1, 2022 to January 18, 2023. Is it 5? Is it 10? Is it 15? Total number of sick days used by District Attorney Sandra Doorley from January 1, 2022 to January 18, 2023. Is it 60? Is it 90? Is it 180? What is it? As your health is in collapse at the District Attorney's office. You know the answer, Perry Douglas. You picked up the phone and there she is on the other end of the phone and she's telling you, Perry Douglas, she can't come into work that day? Freedom of Information Law. The total number of sick days, the total number of hours employees at Penford Town Court have accumulated by the number of sick days, the number of hours. A conviction integrity unit, the 1984 review. This is because innocent citizens are in jail. Freedom of Information Law. Documentation signed by District Attorney Sandra Doorley created, quote, a conviction integrity unit, end quote, within the Monroe County District Attorney's office. This is your confession that innocent citizens are in jail. It doesn't matter to any of you hacks at the District Attorney's office that innocent citizens are in jail. Is justice blind? The answer is no. If it meets their minutes, and there are public meetings laws in the state of New York. So, Freedom of Information Law. The minutes of every conviction integrity unit meeting at the Monroe County District Attorney's office, District Attorney Sandra Doorley. I'm going to write this 6-month periods, but I'm writing it for now, today, on this January 18th. Send me the latest payroll. I only got it once. I no longer have it. The name and salaries of a public employee at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Todd Baxter. This I received from the District Attorney's office, along with salaries. The District Attorney's office sent me the two here I'm demanding. The salaries and this. You have your employee at the jail, who I believe is in the vicinity of 70 years old. You do not forcibly retire your employees at 62 because you want that old boy network around for political support. Freedom of Information Law. List of every public employee at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office by one length of employment years, the day, month, and year the employee has hired. Todd Baxter, am I correct or incorrect that you don't forcibly retire your employees at 62? This can remove you from office. This is overtime and time and a half. How's that done? There's different ways to do it with personnel management. You could have an employee that's paid $50,000 and that employee's at $100,000. You could have employees that are paid more than your $132,599 salary, Todd Baxter, with overtime, and how many are there at the Sheriff's Office? Total cost of overtime, time and a half, well paid beyond base salaries calculated at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Todd Baxter. Freedom of Information Law. Total cost of overtime, time and a half, well paid beyond base salaries calculated at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, District Attorney Sandra Doorley. It's understandable if you work beyond the 40th hour because there's a trial, and there are trials in Monroe County, especially murder trials. What's not understandable is your refusal to comply with it. And this is why you're corrupt. You, Sandra Doorley, District Attorney's Office, you, Perry Douglas, and you other hacks. Because I did receive your salaries and the length of employment, which I've been demanding. I have it, which I'm going to read on YouTube. And I'm in the process of writing notes about what I think about it. So, this is why you're corrupt. You sent me that documentation, but you ignored everything else, including what I'm reading right now about time and a half and overtime. I'm demanding public information from you because your entire nauseating, repulsive existence is tax dollars. And you're picking and choosing what you want to comply with, that you think is politically acceptable to comply with. That's not going to embarrass and humiliate you. And I'm trying to embarrass and humiliate you right now. The total number of sick days, the total number of hours employees at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Todd Baxter have accumulated by one, the number of sick days, the number of hours. Freedom of Information Law. The total number of sick days, the total number of hours employees at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, that have accumulated by the number of sick days, the number of hours. Duke of New York, A number one here, Alex Renzi, about 70 years old. He'll look at this and do the full do you know who I am. Freedom of Information Law. Total number of sick days, total number of hours, Supervisor Judge Alex Renzi, 7th Judicial District, New York State Supreme Court, have accumulated by the number of sick days, the number of hours. Nobody's ever asked him that. Just like nobody's ever asked you this. It's just sexual harassment at the Sheriff's Office. Kathleen Miller, how would you answer that question? Have you ever been sexually harassed? Did you understand the term sexual harassment, Kathleen Miller? Do you know another Monroe County Sheriff Office employee who has been sexually harassed, as you understand the term, sexual harassment, Kathleen Miller? The answer is yes. What did you do about it? Is the answer to that nothing? Freedom of Information Law. The cost of taxpayers of Monroe County Sheriff Todd K. Baxter suspended taxpayer dollars on employment-related discrimination lawsuits failed to comply with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The cost of taxpayers Freedom of Information Law. The cost of taxpayers of Monroe County District Attorney Sandra expended taxpayer dollars on employment-related discrimination lawsuits failed to comply with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This is where I'm going to go to the 4th Judicial Department Attorney Grievance Committee with my prosecutor's silence. I cannot go to the Attorney Grievance Committee and begin process to spar my prosecutor's silence if you refuse to disclose their names, which is corruption, which is unethical. Freedom of Information Law. The number of complaints written or filed by defendants about attorneys, employees at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, District Attorney Sandra Doorley with the 4th Judicial Department Attorney Grievance Committee. Todd Baxter, how do employees qualify? Is it a rigorous standard? Qualify with the weapon? Because where I was, as 2nd Squadron 17 Cavalry 101st Airborne Division, it was rigorous. You had to hit the target over and over and over. What is it, Todd Baxter? You'll refuse to answer, even though that weapon can be used to murder an innocent citizen in the street or in a home or anywhere. What's the answer, Todd Baxter? And do you confiscate a weapon from an employee that cannot qualify? What does cannot qualify mean? Cannot qualify means he can't hit the target. She can't hit the target. Freedom of Information Law. What is the basic membership requirement for employees at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office of Sheriff Todd K. Baxter? This is your $0 freak, Michael Rather. Is he paid private money at the Sheriff's Office or not? Freedom of Information Law. The day and year Monroe County Sheriff Todd K. Baxter rehired Michael Rather after his 20-year career ended in January 1, 2018, and sent to the email address below the documentation signed by Sheriff Baxter rehire Rather. I know he's been there since January 1, 2018. Send me the documentation for you to rehire him. You brought him out of retirement, right? He was retired. And then he comes back in the office. I get the payroll. I go to his name because I think he's a double dipper. It says 0. Has he been paid private money every single week since January 1, 2018 from your campaign accounts or not? I have not looked at your campaign accounts. If there's a dispersal from you, Todd Baxter, to him, Michael Rather, beginning in January 2018 or thereabouts, then you're paying him private money to work at the Sheriff's Office. This is what I'm going to tell Controller Thomas P. DiNapoli about you. To ask you, Todd Baxter, corruption requires repetition. Is your employee Michael Rather paid campaign contributions from when you were elected in 2017 and re-elected in 2021? What's the answer? The sickness, the fanaticism of you, that's it. I had to get this done at Patrick's printing to blow up because I only had a black and white, but that's it. You still lie about it. I was on it. It has an assigned number. Regina Harper sent me the links. That's because of $67,000 Shannon Meyer. This photographs why you're a fanatic. This photographs why you're an extremist. This photographs why you're a liar. This photographs why I know the name. $67,000 disgusting hack. This photograph is why people hate the police. Freedom of Information Law. The cost of a surveillance device purchased with taxpayer dollars by Monroe County Sheriff Todd K. Baxter fixed to a building in 2025 Penfield Road to monitor Christopher Child 26 Sanders Farm Drive, walk through the park on an exit building, and that's the lunatic fringe. The lunatic fringe. There you are. These are your employees. So, the cost for a photography session, photograph 10 Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees underwater in a pool approved by Sheriff Todd K. Baxter. Freedom of Information Law. What's the answer? I don't care if it's a private event. Is it taxpayer dollars? Brian Fisher should always be in Monroe County. your employee. Every employee of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office should always be in Monroe County. They should never leave Monroe County, Todd Baxter. Do you understand what I just said to you? Your employee should never leave Monroe County. And here's Ryan Fisher in Atlanta, Georgia. Cost for a hotel and plane ticket for Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee Ryan Fisher attended Super Bowl in Atlanta, Georgia on February 3rd, 2019. Freedom of Information Law. Documentation of voucher or other documentation signed by Sheriff Todd Baxter to purchase an airline ticket and a hotel room for Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee Ryan Fisher to travel to Atlanta, Georgia for the Super Bowl on February 3rd, 2019. Cost for the care and feeding of Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee Ryan Fisher, German Shepherd Lola during his trip to Atlanta, Georgia on February 3rd, 2019. You need money for him and his dog. The taxpayers of Monroe County paid for the care and feeding of German Shepherd Lola, owned by the Monroe County Sheriff's Office in Atlanta, Georgia. Are you confused why I state that you're corrupt, Todd Baxter? This is why you're corrupt too. Your employees are disgraced, 20 pounds overweight, 30 pounds overweight, 40 pounds overweight, 50 pounds overweight at the Jonestown, that's the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, because you're placing the lives of your own employees directly at risk because you demand no physical fitness whatsoever. Freedom of Information Law. What are physical training standards and requirements of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office of Sheriff Todd Baxter? And if there is a standard requirement, doesn't include running, push-ups, sit-ups. The state of violence at your jail. There is a commission on correction in Albany. When I get to the point where I contact the United States Department of Justice about you, I'll contact at the same time the commission on correction about violence, about how you're refusing to answer, about the state of violence in Monroe County Jail. And I've been a witness to violence at Monroe County Jail, where inmates are attacking each other, and I had to give a statement. I've been a witness to violence in Livingston County Jail, where inmates are attacking each other, and I had to give a statement. Freedom of Information Law. A number of criminal acts or criminal actions where an inmate appeared in court for a criminal charge with a criminal act or charge occurred at Monroe County Jail from January 1, 2022 to January 18, 2023. Arresting officer. An arresting officer accountable for facts and circumstances of arrest. You want to shield your employees behind that blue wall silence when your employees commit violent acts upon individuals that are arrested. I've been violently attacked by your fellow psychopaths as an innocent man over and over and over. Do you have an arresting officer? Freedom of Information Law. Does Sheriff Todd Baxter assign an arresting officer for every arrest for the accountability of facts and circumstances of the arrest? Name and charge of every inmate. You are such a buffoon and stooge and cretin and criminal. You do not separate the violent inmates from non-violent inmates. Separate them. I've been saying this for 18 months. The name and charge of every Freedom of Information Law. Name and charge of every man in Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter's Monroe County Jail from January 1, 2018 to January 18, 2023. I'll tell the Commission on Correction that you're refusing over and over and over. Affirmative action, you're a Democrat. Todd Baxter, Democrats obsessed with race and gender. Do you hire based on race and gender? Do you, Sheriff Todd Baxter, hire employees to Monroe County Sheriff's Office based on race or gender? Do you have a affirmative action program? That's what I'm asking. Same thing to District Attorney. Do you, District Attorney Sandra, Doorley, hire employees to Monroe County District Attorney's Office based on race or gender? The names of my prosecutors. This is why you're corrupt. I have prosecutors that I've been demanding the names you disclose for 18 months, and you're refusing every time. This is corruption. You're getting this tomorrow. Everyone is going to arrive, and the green card's going to come back to me. You're going to look at this Sandra Doorley, who I'm telling you to disclose the names of my prosecutors, and you are refusing. This is why you're corrupt. Is this Julie Hahn, the first one? Freedom of Information Law. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester, where John P. Lenza Jr. and Pamphlet Town Court was named the prosecutor. This is the 5'2", 3-piece suit boy that Regina Harper, the Monroe County Public Defender, said, quote, the prosecutor's not backing down. Yeah, that's he's a real Rambo. When he can exist in that, the prosecutor's not backing down. When he doesn't have to convince a jury of 12 or anyone that have committed a crime. He could be in that the prosecutor's not backing down in total craven, cowardly silence. Freedom of Information Law. Documentation of the case of Christopher Johnson, Wall C. Mentor, and Pamphlet Town Court was named the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley. I appeared in New York State Supreme Court before Alex Renzi when he told me I was finished and done, which is a lie. I'll be in front of this hack again or somebody else in hackocracy over there or anywhere else you want to deposit me, because what you do at the district attorney's office is you concoct crimes for innocent citizens. He said I was finished and done. I'm walking down East Main Street today to go to M&T Bank, and there's the Monroe County Sheriff Office employee right there. I'm thinking this is not going to be good for me. And what didn't happen will happen. I'll be walking down East Main Street or somewhere else in this neighborhood here in downtown Rochester where I live, and there's going to be the Monroe County Sheriff Office vehicle, and you're going to have 5 of you psychopaths there or 10 psychopaths there just for me, and I'll be arrested when I'm going about my day because you're going to concoct more crimes for me because you cannot control that compulsion that defines you as psychopaths at the Sheriff's Office and District Attorney's Office. Freedom of Information Law. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester in New York State Supreme Court, Alex Renzi. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra? When he said to me, you're finished and done, behind me with 2 females. I do not know if these are prosecutors that are assigned to my cases or they're court employees. So who's assigned to me to Alex Renzi? I think I already have this, so I'm not going to read this. This is the list of defendants in Pembroke Town Court. I think I have that list of defendants in Pembroke Town Court. I haven't looked at it, so that's why I'm not going to read it. So these are 3 that we're going to read that are attached. But I believe that Paul C. Metzer and James P. Jr. did comply, even though I haven't looked at it yet. He didn't comply. He'll never comply. This is the corruption of Alex Renzi. This is the elitism of Alex Renzi. This Emory Law School graduate had to go to Atlanta, Georgia to get his degree. A list of defendants in the New York State Supreme Court before supervising Judge Alex Renzi in January 1, 2021 to January 18, 2023. Duke of New York, A number 1 here, will never comply. I believe if the Department of Justice told him to comply, he still would refuse. This is the defective documents of Dan Glaus III, John P. Lomenzo Jr. released as accused child rapist because he knows the family. So what's the answer? The defective documents cited by John P. Lomenzo Jr., Democratic Chronicle newspaper about the case of Dan Glaus III. Please tell me, Paul C. Metzer and James P. Jr., you don't have them anymore. This is the cost of travel. Let's remove you from office. The cost of taxpayers for Freedom of Information Law. The cost of taxpayers for all travel out of Monroe County, New York State by employees of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter. The cost of travel. The cost of taxpayers for all travel out of Monroe County, New York State by employees of the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, District Attorney Sandra Doorley. And for Renzi, I saw him at the Magistrates Association, and it was alarming what he looked like, because he looked like he was drinking and he looked like he was intoxicated. I do not know. And I don't care if I'm incorrect about that. And if I'm in there in front of him again, I'll say to him again, are you an alcoholic? Because I'm trying to enrage him. So where does he go? He will refuse to answer. If he got this 100 times, he would refuse to answer. Freedom of Information Law. The cost of taxpayers for all travel out of Monroe County, New York State by employees of the New York State Supreme Court, 7th Judicial District, and supervising Judge Alex R. Renzi. Who made the decision there at the District Attorney's Office? I was going to appear in front of the supervising judge. Because one of you hacks did. You're making decisions about my life that I have no information whatsoever from. And this is why you're psychopaths there. Do the lives of others matter? And the answer is no. Because you love to smash the lives of others into a million little pieces at that revolting shack that's your district attorney's office. Freedom of Information Law. The cost of taxpayers for all travel out of Monroe County, New York State by employees of Pembroke Town Court, Paul C. Metzer, James P. Jr., and John P. Lomenzo Jr. That's so simple understanding, you'll refuse. This is so simple understanding, you refuse going to Watkins Glen. You were such a joke and a buffoon and a narcissist. Narcissist day, you sitting in the car, you're telling one of your Jonestown Kool-Aid drinkers, Todd Baxter, take a picture of me as I sit in a race car. I think that the Department of Justice employees will look at that picture when I send it to them, say, we've never seen a sheriff behave like this. Todd Baxter in Monroe County. Freedom of Information Law. The cost of a trip to Watkins Glen, New York by Sheriff Todd K. Baxter to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office and expend taxpayer dollars for a hotel, plane ticket, per diem. What's not to understand, you Benito Mussolini skinhead? Hotel, plane ticket, per diem. If it was just a day trip, fine. You didn't spend a hotel. You spent money for a hotel or a plane ticket, pardon me. But it costs money to go on this trip to Watkins Glen. So how much was it? So, and who'd you take with you? Your groupies, your flunkies, your Kool-Aid drinkers? You didn't go there by yourself. You need people to be around you, Todd Baxter, and to use the most obvious term for it, to kiss your ass, because you love it when that happens. So who'd you take with you? Freedom of information law. The total number of employees that escorted Sheriff Todd G. Baxter on his trip to Watkins Glen, New York. I don't know if you went to this, but I'm demanding if you went to it, Sandra Doorley. Freedom of information law. The cost taxpayers of District Attorney Sandra Doorley attended the Saratoga Springs, New York District Attorneys Association of the State of New York Summer Conference. And it's the final foil. Freedom of information law. The cost taxpayers of Saratoga Springs, New York, if Sheriff Todd G. Baxter approved the expenditure of tax dollars to attend the Undersheriff's Training Conference at the Gideon Putnam Motel in Saratoga Springs, New York. So you got every one. Now, I'll read the cover letter again. This is on the cover letter. I don't think the cover letter is on the PDF because it didn't go through. But this cover letter is on top of that. That is coming to you. Comply with the attached PDF dated January 18, 2023. There's 71 Freedom of Information Law documents. This includes identification of my prosecutor's silence, mail the information I demand to the address on the foil, and then I include previous links. We're demanding the same information. YouTube rejection, YouTube accountability, and then I tell you to resign. So, what I just read to you, you received on January 12th. What I just read to you, you received on January 10th. Over and over and over, I'm sending it to you. UPS. So, you're going to refuse to comply every single time. My illegal eviction. I'll just go through these quickly. When I filed a criminal complaint against Antonino Spano, Fairport, New York, this is what I don't have. I'm not telling you this, I'm self-absorbed. These are things I don't have that are part of my life. Gone forever. I ran a 5K at MCC, and so that's me. I don't know if you can see me there. That's my number. That's a medal I got. It's a medal in my age group. I don't have the story. I don't know if you can see that. That's an Associated Press story. It was written about me 20 years ago. Appeared in newspapers throughout New York State. I don't have that. And I'm just going to show one more thing if I could find it, because I could show picture after picture of what I don't have. And it's what I don't have because it's an illegal eviction. And it's what I have left of my life. Those bags are what I have left of my life. And I just wanted to show one thing about the consequences of an illegal eviction and what an illegal eviction does to a life. And I don't think I'm going to be able to find it here on my photographs. But I had the chandelier in my living room. And as I'm a runner, I'd finish a race, and I had about 10 of them. I put the number on there. It was on the chandelier. And I hang everything up, and I took a picture of it so I can remind myself of all my races. All those jerseys are gone. All those numbers are gone. All my running outfits are gone. All my running shoes are gone. All my clothes are gone because of Antonino Spano, Fairport, New York. And when I write the criminal complaint about him and what he's done for the destruction of my life, you're not going to do anything about Antonino Spano. I own nothing and have nothing because of an illegal eviction by Antonino Spano. So I walked into Spencer's Gifts at Marketplace Mall, and I was looking at the products there. And it's an interesting gift shop where you could buy different things. And you could buy a wallet to communicate with individuals when you go into Spencer's Gifts. So I bought that wallet. So you have it. You have everything. It's coming to you. I read every single foil. You will refuse. I will soon contact Lollipop Farm Humane Society. I'm going to go into detail about you, Sheriff Baxter, and your fellow psychopaths coming to my residence, demand my little guy, who I've walked for 7 years and 4,000 times, is no longer with me. May he rest in peace always. I will not be able to adopt another dog when I move back to Albany because they will do a background check investigation on me, and they will see that I've been in jail 6 times, and they will not know the facts and circumstances of any sentence in jail where a prosecutor has never uttered one syllable at any point during every single one of my court appearances. My name is Christopher Chichester. I'm an innocent man.